Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new Connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Excited to be on a podcast, bro. Oh, right now. She's on the line. I'm just putting a little bourbon in my glass. Setting back out there. I'm just going to do it outside. Got my bourbon. Another beer just in case. That's blood, right? Come on, Frank, in or out, buddy. You can't have that. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, he shit like right over there. I cleaned it up, but I think there's residue. Bourbon, cigar.
Okay, well, let's chat. I've been thinking too.
You've been thinking?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you knew how to think, pal.
Yes, that's me. Once in a while.
On occasion, on special occasion. Hey y'all, how's it going? It is me, your girl, Elena Grace, and you're listening to another episode of I've Been Thinking. Today, I have one of the most special guests on, my old pal, Devin. He is a professional musician. He is a traveler. He's just a wonderful soul. So, Devin, say hi.
Hello to you and your crowd of listeners. Hello, everybody. Yes, she covered most of it. I'm an entertainer. This is what I do. I travel and try to live life to the fullest. And I've been looking forward to being on this podcast. So thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm so glad that you've been looking forward to it. I've had you on my mind for a while, and then I finally got around to asking you. I've got the kind of anxiety that makes you procrastinate. So, I finally got around to it, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. I've been trying to do this for forever.
Yes, here we are.
Here we are. Well, tell us about yourself. Oh, I don't know what that was. That was something on my side. Anyway, tell us about yourself. Like, just dump it out a little bit.
Okay. I started singing in bars when I was 19 years old, and believe it or not, I'm 29 now. That was 10 years ago. Let's see. When I graduated high school, I went to University of Louisville. Boo.
Oh, wow. I did not know that about
I went to
you.
U of L. Yeah, I went to U of L for 1 year, and I was very confused as to the direction of my life. I knew that I loved playing music, but I think you're kind of taught that if you want to have a real career that you have to go to college, and so that's what I did. I was a smart kid. I got into U of L pretty easy, and I spent a year there just kind of screwing around and having a good time because I'm from Eastern Kentucky, and I'm a mama's boy, an only child to a single mother, and I was so close to freedom. I was finally free, and it was like I have to get as far away from home as I can so that I can, go out and be free and start living. And I had a lot of fun, and I didn't go to class very much. I was not good at taking notes or paying attention. I wanted to party. I wanted to indulge, and I did a lot of that, and I ended up getting really, really bad grades. And that summer, I was trying to decide if I was going to go back to school or what the next move in my life was. And I played a show. It was my first concert. I opened up for Andy Griggs, Nashville recording artist, and he'll always be one of my favorites. And that day I had about 200 people in the palm of my hand. And I'll never forget that feeling of, wow, I don't want to do anything else but this. This is exactly what I want to do. And so that's where I began, and I started playing bars, and I had so much to learn. As a young man, but started playing bars, writing songs, and that was 10 years ago now.
Wow.
And so I've been all over. I left the state of Kentucky in 2013 and moved to Tennessee to pursue my dreams. I had a friend living in Murfreesboro going to MTSU. And he had, ironically, it's so funny how life works out. I hit him up one day and said, hey, man, Mom's moving out of this house, and I think I'm moving to Tennessee. What's up? And he was like, what do you know? My roommate is moving out in August, and I was going to renew my lease, but I didn't have a roommate yet. Live with me. Boom. Okay. And so I moved to Murfreesboro, and I met some really awesome people in my time in Tennessee, but I actually ended up getting farther and farther away from Nashville, and just living. I wanted to work on a farm. You can hear Frank barking.
No, he's fine.
But I moved to Coffee County, Tennessee, and I started working on farms. I think I wanted to prove to myself that I was a man. Frank, come on, buddy. He gets mad when anyone leaves, and my roommate just left, and he's inside still, and he's tripping.
Oh, I understand. Winnie does the same,
Yeah.
She gets mad when Mom leaves.
Right, but I think I had to prove to myself that this only child to a single mother wasn't a sissy, and that I could work hard and I could get my hands dirty. And so I started I got a job on a horse farm, and then I got a job on a cattle farm, and I was feeding dairy calves, and not really doing much for music. I was doing some things in Nashville, some with a friend of mine who's now a good friend of mine, Johnny Garcia, who plays lead guitar for Garth Brooks. He taught me how to sing in the studio, taught me how to write a song with other people. But I was really just distracted by life and being young and being in this new town. It's funny, I was probably the first. You've heard of Bonnaroo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I lived in Manchester, where Bonnaroo is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really was having a good time, and I ended up coming back to Kentucky in the end of 2016 is when I began my professional career as a full-time musician. I said, I don't want a day job anymore. I'm going to work hard at this. I played 100 shows in 2017. I'm really proud of that. I've still got the calendar left over, but
wow.
Then 2018, my mom passed away, and I was just distraught, and it was kind of a surprise. And so actually, looking back, let's say my grandparents were my best friends. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and my godmother growing up, because my mom was so busy making a life for us, making sure that we had food on the table. She was working 2 jobs. She was going to night classes and getting her master's degree.
Wow.
And so I spent a lot of my time growing up with my grandparents and my godmother. They spent a lot of time taking me, and I didn't even realize it until much later on in life that how hard my mom was working to make sure that we had support. And my grandfather passed away when I was in the 6th grade. My mamaw passed away when I was in the 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
And then right before I moved to Tennessee in 2012, my godmother, my best friend, diagnosed with cancer, passed away. I'm 20 years old, lost my Mimi, and I've got my mom left, and my mom passed away when I was 28. And so I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
really,
so
it
sorry.
seemed very unfair. But, being 29 years old and looking 30 in the eyes, I'm finally becoming the man that I want to be. I've finally developed a hard work ethic, and I really think that, I just played the biggest show of my career on
Yeah,
Saturday
you
night,
did.
just two nights ago. I played the Paramount Arts Center in Ashland, Kentucky, a headlining show. Put a band together of some really, really awesome, talented musicians, and we did the thing. And I feel like the harder that I work, the more it's working out. And so here I am. We've put the show together, and now we've recorded it all, and we've got to get it mixed. And but there's a lot of really, really good things on the rise. Obviously, COVID happened, and so back to when Mom passed away. I moved to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, you did.
I had to get out of Kentucky. It was one of those things where the green grass, the smell of the air, the mountains, the hills, the friendliness of everyone around me, everything reminded me of my mom. And
Right.
at that part of my grief, I did not want that. I couldn't do day in and day out of this part of it just being in my face. And so I moved to Austin. Actually, it's really ironic. I had met Gary Clark Jr., blues guitarist.
No, you didn't. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I met him in Knoxville. I saw him play in Louisville at the Palace Theater, and I got a little
love
bit.
the Palace.
I had a lot of fun that night, and
Yeah.
I didn't exactly remember it all. And I said to myself, I know it was a really awesome time, and touring artists, they're going to be somewhere close the next night or 2 nights later
Right.
because it's a tour. And I checked it out, and he was in Knoxville, so I got a ticket. I drove to Knoxville, ended up meeting some guys that know him. We went backstage after the show. I got to chat with Gary. Really awesome guy, Gary Clark Jr. He's a great stand-up person. But after Mom passed, I flew straight to California. That is a place that we got to visit together in 2017, and I just needed to get away from here, so I went to California. And while I was there, I saw that Gary was ending his tour, same tour, in Austin. And I said, forget it. I wasn't hard up for money at the time. I was just like, I'm going to Austin, Texas as soon as I get back to Ashland. So I came back. We did Mom's funerals. We held 2 memorial services for her. And I went to Austin. I got in the car and I drove all the way to Austin, Texas. And I got to see Gary, and I knew that if I kind of followed the same protocol as the first time I met him, there's a good chance I could meet him again. So I did those things, and I got the chance to see Gary after the show. And I know he's a mama's boy, and I told him, hey, he remembered me just from Knoxville, and told him, hey, I lost my mom, man. I had to come down here and see this show. He was like, tell you what, you can come to the after party with us. We're going over to Antone's. He owns Antone's Blues Bar, historic bar, music venue. And I got to go up, and it was crazy. I went up to this after party, and I just looked around, and I was mind blown at all these people that he had brought on stage to play at Austin City Limits Live at the Moody Theater. All those musicians were now around me.
Oh my
in
gosh,
the
that gave me
room.
cold chills.
Yes, they were all beside me, and I ended up making friends with some of them. So I remember I was gonna leave on like the weekend. I was gonna stay through the weekend or whatever, and then drive home. But it was wintertime, and there was a big winter storm coming. and I had to leave town. I said, I can't stick around. I can't risk being stuck here. I got to go back to Kentucky. And I'll never forget driving away from Austin and the feeling that I had inside me of, you got to get back here as soon as you can. And it was an undeniable feeling inside. I knew for a fact that I needed to come back to Austin. So
That's
I went
where
back,
you needed to be.
I went back to Kentucky, and I got my things together. I got things lined up, and I moved to Austin, moved all my stuff down to Austin, Texas, and had a wonderful year there in Austin practicing my craft. After that year, when it came time, I was like, do you want to sign another lease, or should you probably go back to Kentucky for a while? And it was time for me to go back to Kentucky. So
Yeah.
I came home, and then COVID happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got so lucky that I am not in Austin, Texas looking for a job right now with 1,000
that's
other
so true.
artists. I have friends that were down there, and they were just barely scraping by trying to make it in Austin. And I had a friend here who opened his doors to me, because I would have been staying with my gran, but I couldn't endanger my favorite person in the world.
Yeah.
An old lady, so I had to stay away from her, and came over here, and that year happened, and we had actually planned to play the Paramount last year, and of course COVID happened and moved it into just this past Saturday. And it's just, whether, I don't know, our circumstances at the time, at any given time, poor, bad, awful circumstances, they feel really bad, but you don't see in the future the way those things are going to make you tougher, make you into something better. And through all my hardships that I've been through, and COVID included, and that's for everyone, I feel like everyone that made it through COVID has come out of this with a different outlook on a lot of things. And lucky us musicians, of course, we've been dying to get back to music, but everybody else has too. And I think now everyone has lived in a world without live music for a while, and everyone is chomping at the bit to get back to listening to live music and going out and seeing shows. So I think everything is just going to take off from here. I know that our careers are going to take off from the show, just from the showing that we put on Saturday, and the feedback that I'm getting from people. It's, Elena, it's going to be awesome. I'm so very excited.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm on cloud nine, and it's like, man, if I looking back in the rear view, there were some times that I was low down. I was low down, and I am soaking in every bit of these moments that we're living in, because there's going to be times when I'm low down again someday. Hopefully not. Hopefully never again. But I know that's how life works. Things come in waves, and something is going to happen. But I am on a extreme high right now, and it's funny. I put a lot of work into that concert, and I think that it's just really helped make me into a hard worker, because I don't feel like my switch has been turned off. I'm ready to get on to the next thing. Let's go. Let's make moves. Let's do everything we possibly can to make this career happen. And
Incredible.
So thanks for asking. That was I'm long-winded. You got a long-winded guest today.
I know you are. No, I knew that, bringing you on. I am just that you have such an awesome story, I think. And, we were talking a little bit before the show, legally, officially started just a few minutes ago, about how you feel like you're alive now, and you feel like you're really living the life that you're meant to live, and that you feel like you're becoming the man that you're supposed to be. And I'm just so happy for you,
thank you
going
very
through
much.
that. You're so welcome.
Thank you.
I know how kind of coming into yourself in that way feels, because I've done it once before. When you met me, I was in that state where I was like, this is me. Because I'll tell the listeners, because I mean, most of them won't know. I met you. We became like best bar buddies pretty much because I was always at Stagger Inn on the weekends. And
Oh, yeah.
so were you.
And I wanted to play your requests. You asked for good music, so I was like,
You
all right,
always
I'll
played my
give it to you.
requests. My mom, for a while, I would talk about you every once in a while. I'd be like, yeah, my pal Devin, whatever. She's like, is that the one that plays Kenny Chesney when he sees you walk in the door?
Yeah,
I
that's
said,
it.
yes, ma'am, that's the one.
Eventually, you don't even have to ask for it anymore.
I know.
I get joy out of you getting joy out of it, so it's everyone wins.
Lord, I'm sure I was so annoying sometimes. I'd say, Devin, play this. And you're like, oh, Elena, shut up. I got to play other people's songs, too. Oh, my gosh. What a brat.
As long as you ask for good songs, you should have zero shame in making requests from people who are taking requests.
Yeah, I mean,
just be sure to request good stuff. That's all. It's important.
I mean, you know, I always did. It was always Kenny or it was Old Red.
Oh yeah,
Old Red is still one of my favorites.
Love getting down on that song. Oh my gosh,
a good one, a classic. I requested it. We were up here in Northern Kentucky. They've been bringing live music back a little bit into some of like the bars and restaurants and stuff for a few months, and that's been really awesome. Just, you know, like mostly the smaller places, I guess, that can kind of get away with it. And I was in a bar for some day drinking with Adam and his parents and some of their friends a few months ago. I don't remember when it was exactly, and they had live music. And he was taking requests, so I said, play me either Tom Petty or Old Red. And he was like, I said, you make the choice. And he played Old Red. And Adam's parents had no idea that I had, because they didn't expect that from me, I guess. They don't always think of me being a country girl, I guess. I don't know.
You know, I don't know how. I mean, listen to you.
No.
It's hard to mistake that.
Everybody up here, when they meet me for the first time, they go, where are you from again? But I've been at home with my family this weekend, so it's a little bit. Barberville, Knox County.
Okay, my mom went to Union.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Yes, ma'am. And her best friends own a law firm and the Butcher's Pub in Pineville.
No, I know them.
Yeah, really?
My dad's best friend, my Uncle Dave, his wife, that's her cousins.
Okay, awesome. See,
that.
It's a small world, and even smaller Eastern Kentucky.
I was gonna say it's an even smaller Eastern Kentucky. Shout out to the Butcher's Pub, by the way.
Oh yeah, there's also one now in London. There's one in
Williamsburg, isn't there?
Yes, there's 3 Butcher's Pubs now. They were actually one of my sponsors for my event. On Saturday. Yeah, we got to put the Butcher's Pub up on the board up there.
Wow, that's so really awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so you and I planned this recording to come after your performance on Saturday because we knew you'd be coming. You'd not even coming down. We knew you'd be still on a high.
Yes, and I am.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. Now, I want to hear about that because you were like, Elena, wait until you hear about this shit. I want to hear about it. Like, tell us, because I know a lot of people, and I have had this thought before, what's it like to kind of be that person that's on stage, you know?
Well, it took so much work because I didn't have any help. I had to do everything on my own. I had to organize this event. I had to get the players. I had to get the sponsorships, get the money, get the tables and tickets figured out, do absolutely everything. And until my friend took my phone at 6 o'clock for me to go shower and get ready, I was up to my neck in organization. And I am not an organized person at all. I've never been. But so I wasn't even able to be the singer until the show. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I mean, setting me free This is something that I waited for my entire life. So, for your listeners, the Paramount Arts Center in Ashland, Kentucky was built in 1931 and was initially set to, that was in the era of silent movies or music where they would roll footage and then play music. And so,
Right.
But then the Great Depression happened and they sold, and it changed hands. It was no longer actually a Paramount theater, but they kept the name. And around here, growing up, I'm sure that in Barberville there's some kind of theater, or around there's some sort of place where when you're in 6th grade or 4th grade or whatever, and they bring, Schoolhouse Rock to town. I remember that. I remember being in like the 6th grade and going to see Schoolhouse Rock at the Paramount. You grow up going on field trips to the Paramount at least once a year. And I would sit and lean my head back and just look around at the theater and just stare up at the ceiling at this beautiful place and just think, just soak it in. Oh my gosh, this place is so special. And I think it took me until I started playing guitar to want to play on that stage. But it is literally something that I've dreamt about my entire life. I have always wanted to play that stage and be the one that people are there to see. And so we actually, when I had just come back from Austin, right when COVID seemed like something that was going to be 2 weeks long, we set the date for March or April of last year. Obviously that was not plausible. They moved it forward, and then they moved it to October, and then we moved it, and it was like, okay, when are we going to have this? And I picked June 26th. It seemed like the perfect date. But initially, the show was supposed to be me and Shirley Syme on the fiddle, because the two of us had just gotten in the studio and recorded what was going to be my first album. I had 10 songs together that I wanted to be my first album. And we recorded the audio for it, and then I went down to Texas, to Austin, because South by Southwest Music Festival was happening. And they canceled South by Southwest, but my home bar down there in Austin, Texas, shout out San Jack Saloon on 6th Street. It's one of the very few country bars that they actually have in Texas.
Really?
Or not in Texas, in Austin, yes, specifically. Austin has every kind of music, but the country is really, Austin's very different from the rest of Texas. So there's not as much.
Keep Austin weird.
Yeah, there's not as much country music in Austin, and I left, came back to Austin, and I was playing these shows, and that's when Governor Abbott shut the state down, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, this is real! Like this is really real." And so I had flown down because my Harley Davidson was there, and I got on my Harley and I rode back to Ashland, and when I came back, it was like I had to finish vocals with Gary Kessling, who runs this studio here in Ashland where I had recorded my music. And Gary's got diabetes and lots of health issues that he has to keep in check. And I was not going to go over to Gary's house knowing that COVID is real, and that if Gary caught COVID, that he could be toast.
Right.
That could be it for him. So I kept putting off recording the vocals, kept putting it off. And in that time, I decided, you know what, I don't know that I want to actually even release this music. George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, and one of my songs was called Let It Ride. And basically the theme of this song, and it was going to be the single, like this was going to be the track that people paid attention to. And the theme of the song is, if it's out of your hands, let it go. If it's something that you can't control, then you should let it go. And I still believe that in some ways, but the message, I just did not want people to feel like
it was a response.
Yes.
And it just wasn't the right time for that.
No, and I feel 100% the opposite of that. I think that if you feel strongly about something, and then you should get out and try
Do
to make a
something
change.
about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
challenge these things. Not
Yeah.
let it ride. Don't just let it roll off your shoulders. Go do something about it. Get your friends together and do something about it.
I think your intention was really beautiful though, because I very much I think that that's a really important thing for us to internalize in a lot of ways, and for a lot of things that just let it ride. There are things that are outside of our control that we need to just, kind of let go of.
It is the source of a lot of anxiety.
Yes,
when you try to control things that are just simply out of your hands. It's
Right.
If there's a lot of stuff that you cannot make the change. And
Right.
and here it goes down to as simple as when I'm sitting there palm sweaty in an airplane and I'm freaking out because we're 40,000 feet in the air and we got a little bit of turbulence. I'm not gonna go up there and fly this airplane.
Yeah.
So what if it's like you're strapped in, you're along for the ride, you might as well enjoy it instead of freaking out about it because there's nothing you can do anyway.
Right. And that's when you let it ride.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But like I said, in this situation,
Yeah.
I don't want to say I scrapped the album, but I put it on a shelf, and we kept pushing the Paramount date, pushing it, and until this year, and it was like, oh wow, there's a vaccine. We're actually gonna get back out and do live music, and my thought process this entire time was, when music is coming back, we are bringing it back. We are going to be people's first concert. We are going to do this as soon as it's available and ready. And really, for me, it was my Graham had to get vaccinated because I wanted her at this concert. There was no way that I was going to play the Paramount without my Graham sitting there safely in her seat. And there she was, right there at the table, front and center. I put her right there in front of the microphone.
How magical.
It was incredible. It was so beautiful. So I put together these players. I started with Chris Millett, who shout out to Make More Music podcast. He has a gear podcast, a music podcast in Louisville. He is the director of music therapy at University of Louisville.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
Yeah, and what happened, a friend of mine, M.W. Hale is what you can look up on iTunes. He decided during COVID, I'm gonna release an album. I've been sitting around, I've been writing songs, and we're gonna cut an album. And this wasn't during COVID, it was more like towards the end of it, but he did the writing during COVID. And I knew about his album, and I gave it a listen one morning, and I was really impressed with the instrumentation. And I said, oh my gosh, dude, who is playing these instruments? The steel guitar and the mandolin. He said, dude, it's Millett. We went to school with him. We were pledge brothers. I was a pledge at a certain fraternity.
Stop. Wait, what fraternity? Tell me, I'll edit it out.
At U
Oh
of L.
my gosh, that's what Adam was. Well, not at U of L, but that's what Adam was. That's so funny.
They are very different at different locations. It's funny.
Yeah.
You'll go to one college, and a certain fraternity will be this style of person, and everybody
Yes.
is this style of person. And then you go to a different college, and you're like, wow, you guys are nothing at all like the people at this college that are in that fraternity. So,
Oh my gosh, it's insane. When I was a GA, the students would ask me questions about my undergrad. I was a graduate assistant at EKU in one of the
cool.
undergrad departments. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. But the students would ask me questions about my undergrad because I went to Transy. And they're like, oh, what'd you do? Blah, blah, blah. What sorority were you in? All that stuff. And they'd say, what fraternity did you hang out with? And I'd tell them, I'm going to bleep this one out too, just so nobody gets hateful. And they're like, you hang out with them? They're gross.
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
like, no, at Transy they were like super cool.
When I went down to Middle Tennessee, and because I was living in Murfreesboro, and my friends at the time, because I was still pretty young, it was just I was just around the age of where everybody else my age had just graduated from there, And so that's a special time in your life too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That 22, 23 feeling of, okay, we just did college. And
That's when I met you.
You still don't know what the real world is like,
Yeah.
but you think you do.
You think you do.
Yeah. And I was down there. All my people had gone to MTSU, and when I told them about where I had pledged at U of L, they were looking at me like very disgusted.
Yeah.
That fraternity got kicked off of campus at MTSU. And they were all like, I can't believe you would hang out with people like that. And I'm like, look, dude, it's not like that somewhere else.
Do you not understand geographical differences?
Yeah, we're so far away from where I was going to school. But, it's that just comes with age. You just end up learning.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
It is.
So I met, I said Matt Hale is the name of the guy that came out with the album. It's under M.W. Hale, but I said, give me Millet's number. I have to tell him how good I think this is, because he did all the recording, he did all the mixing, he did everything. And I texted Millet and said, man, you are so impressive. I haven't spoken to you in 10 years, but I am so impressed and happy with your being 29 years old and playing steel guitar, because that's an old instrument. That is something that if you look at a steel guitar player, he's usually an old dude. Yeah. And that was an important thing for me. Was I know that there are a lot of talented old dudes, but I have this image with these guys. I really wanted a bunch of young players. So when I found out that Chris was playing steel guitar, I was like, oh my gosh, we have got to do something together. He said, yeah, just reach out to me anytime. I would love to play it anytime. And that's when I picked the date out for Paramount. I said, please play steel for me at this Paramount. I started with Chris. Chris said, hey, you should reach out to Zach Barger. He plays the mandolin, so I got Zach Barger. I asked a friend of mine, Dylan Jeffrey in Lexington, would you like to play lead guitar for me? My friend John Watts was the only drummer that I was going to have ever, and I cannot wait to continue my career with John Watts as my drummer. And it just kind of putting this band together. I had to have a band for this Paramount show.
Yeah.
I had to. It was like, if we're bringing live music back, we're really going to bring
it back. And I love that you're bringing it back. You put this team together like the damn Avengers. And you're like hand-picking these people that mean something to you.
Yeah, I have a close relationship with every one of them.
Yeah, and you're not just going to say, okay, I know this old man is established and he can play the steel guitar, and maybe he could bring some people with him or something like that. Like, you're not even choosing people, in that way. You're saying, I want us to all come together and come up together. Yes. I think that's really awesome.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed with the people. So I've realized, I told you guys about how, my last 10 years have been up and down and all over the place. I was very unfocused for a very long time. But now I'm putting it together, and I have learned that I have built a lot of awesome friendships and relationships in my travels and my time in the last 10 years. And now it is time to call on those people. Hey, I know I met you. I have my friend Matt Brinker from Jackson, Ohio. I said, you're a videographer. You do videography. I want you to be our videographer, and it's just like Chris Justice. He plays bass for a lot of people all over Eastern Kentucky. He is a hired gun. He is the best bass player in Eastern Kentucky that you could possibly hire. I met him when I was like 16, and my mom was buying my first set of guitar strings down at the guitar store, because he was working there and giving lessons and stuff. And Ryan Bonner, I went to high school and grew up with Ryan Bonner. We've got our own group, the Bruce Brothers. And I said, Ryan, there's no reason that you should ever be excluded from this Paramount show. Come do this Paramount gig with me. And so, and then the only person that I didn't know prior to this concert was my piano player, and his name is Andrew Chapman, and he is from Johnson County, Kentucky. And I wish I could pat that man on the back every day. We had someone else that was going to play the gig. He was going to travel very far to play this show. He was a friend of Chris Millet. and something happened in his family and he was unable, and Chris said, okay, I got another guy, let me call on Andrew Chapman. Boom, Andrew said, yes, I absolutely will take the gig. This kid is 22 years old. He shows up to our first rehearsal after having only known for 1 week that he was going to be doing this concert with us, and I've never seen someone so prepared. He was keeping us together. This kid that I'd never even met until this rehearsal, shake your hand, thank you for being a part of this, and he took it very seriously, and it's so cool. I've always wanted a band, but I also know that in the long run, if you're really trying to do something in a long run sense, if you're talking about making it happen for years and years and years to come, you have to be on a different level with the people around you, and that is trust. You have to be able to trust these people, not only on a personal level where you know that they're not going to show their ass, they're not gonna, be ever disrespectful, because you're attaching your name to that. You can't have them representing you if you don't fully believe in them. But also trust in the sense that I trust that we can ride in a van together for 8 hours at a time, and so that's always been the number one important factor was I need guys that I can trust. And if you just get a bunch of good, really talented players, you're missing that thing. You're missing that connection, that trust. And I told the guys weeks in advance, our rehearsal is going to be at Paramount Arts Center at 3 o'clock Friday, June 25th. And it was the day of the rehearsal. And instead of, now John, I had to call the drummer because we know each other pretty well. He can get forgetful, and that's fine, because I understand that, and we take care of that. But I knew for the rest of these guys, I didn't have to text anyone. Hey man, make sure you're at the Paramount at 3 o'clock. Hey, you remember that I didn't even worry about it. It was Friday, it was the time, and I showed up at 3, and what do you know? Everybody is there.
Incredible.
They were all prepared. I know I've given super long-winded answers to everything, but my band is really important to me, and I wanted to make sure that I name those guys because they are the reason that this Paramount show was as good as it was. And you guys are going to see it. We recorded it all. Like I said, Matt Brinker with Brinker Media House is the videographer. He recorded all the footage with 2 cameras, and he worked his butt off. If you see any videos from the concert, you'll see him running the cameras on the stage.
I can't wait to see the recording.
It's good. It's so good.
When is that gonna come out?
There is a lot of work to be done now.
Yeah.
Yes, because instead of, I have a recording out on iTunes right now. You guys can check it out. Devin Hale. The album is called Devin Hale and the Bonner Watts Band. We did Summer Motion here in Ashland. It's the biggest concert of the summer. They do 3 or 4 concerts around the 4th of July. And obviously they didn't have the time to put one together this year.
Yeah. But
we did this concert, and I recorded it out of the mixing board. So whatever the audience was hearing coming out of the speakers was what we recorded that, and we got an instant, it didn't take much to put it together. It was just one sound, you know what I mean? There's not really much you can adjust on it. It's just the sound of the entire show. With this show, with the Paramount, we recorded separate channels. Every channel was duplicated. And a channel is, my steel guitar player has a channel.
Yeah.
My guitar is one channel. Mandolin is a channel. The drum is 3 or 4 channels. And we recorded all of those. Every single channel that there was sent straight to a computer and recorded for mixing later. And that is a process.
Oh my gosh, I imagine.
That is going to be a process, because we're going to have to decide, how loud do we want the guitar? Which side of the ears do we want the guitar to be on? How loud does the voice need to be? Do we need to put effects on anything? So we got a lot of work in front of us, but I anticipate I'm thinking August. I'm thinking by mid-August you guys will have footage with mixed and mastered
cannot
audio. Yeah. So we're doing something what's called an electronic press kit for people who don't know that when you're an artist and you're trying to play a gig, if you want to play Bonnaroo, you have to have an electronic press kit. You have to be able to send someone a zipped file, and when they open it, boom, there's your band, there's what you look like, there are clips of you and what you sound like, here is your biography. It is everything you need to know right there in one file, and that is what this concert was going to be for me. That's what we're using it for. So we got a lot of post-production mixing and mastering and stuff to do. But
that's super important.
Once it's done, that is our tool. That is what we're going to take to every single festival and say, look, we know you got a festival lineup. Here's what we do. Put 200 people up in front of us and we'll do this. And I'm telling you, there's not going to be anyone that was going to say, nah, that's not good enough, because we really, really killed it. These guys killed it. It's like I've spent 10 years writing and singing songs for people acoustic by myself. And that's cool. And you know, and there's a setting for that. I think I do that pretty well. But when you add an entire band of talented people doing special things with your music, suddenly you go from, oh, your songs are okay, to, damn, I didn't know you wrote songs like that, you know? Oh my gosh. And so we're just so excited. I can't wait. And it's like
feel
the
it
switch
all the way
isn't
from here.
the switch is not turned off. I thought that it's like after the Paramount was over that I would just flip the switch back and go back to chilling, and it's not even close to that.
You're ready for the next one.
Yes, it has fired me up and motivated me to just work as hard as I possibly can. And
fired me up.
Yeah, awesome. That's the same kind of energy that I try to bring to a show. And imagine, just think about it. It's if you can tell just for me talking about it, wow, man, when you put me on a stage and you just allow me the freedom to do what I do the best, oh man, I think people are gonna really, really like it. So
I think so too.
Yeah, this is where it all starts really coming together, and so I'm excited. Check me out. Devin Hale is my name. Look me up.
I am going to, don't worry, I'm going to link all your stuff in the show notes for this and everything. I'm going to have you plug yourself before we finish up.
Okay.
But I want you, real quick, before we start to wrap up, I want you to tell us, and you know what, it doesn't have to be super quick, because if it's not, I'm going to cut it and I'm going to put it on Patreon so that my Patreon subscribers can listen to you talk a little bit more. So, you don't have to summarize it if you don't want to. But tell us about tell us about your inspiration, like where your inspiration comes from, like what fills your soul. Hey guys, dropping in real quick post-production to let you know that I did cut about 15 minutes of this conversation, and it is more than worth the $5 that you have to pay to get to Patreon, to subscribe, to be a member, and get that 15 minutes of conversation. Like, it is just stunning. It is some of the most insightful conversation that we had this entire episode. Some of the more insightful conversation I've ever had on this podcast. I really, truly recommend that you all go check out the Patreon. The link is in the show notes, or you can find it in my Instagram bio or on the website. We talk about where Devin finds his inspiration, of course. We also talk about the point of life, why we're created, the idea of a creator, all of these things. Like I said, in about 15 minutes, we got a little bit off topic from the question, but it all comes together really beautifully, and I really recommend that you all check it out. I'm not kidding. I'm not just trying to get money from you. I swear, it's really good stuff. And you won't regret being a Patreon member either. So go check that out. But yeah, back to the end of the episode. And I've always said that one day I'll tell my daughter or my nieces or whoever, I'll say, hey, that guy, Mama knew him.
Yeah. That means a lot to me that you would say it like that. So
I
thank
do.
you very much. I
You're
know
so
that
welcome.
you're a believer. You believe with me that this is going to be a very special thing. And,
I do.
And I'm not. It's so funny when people say, "Don't forget us little people," and I'm like, "Look, in your eyes, you're the little people." And it couldn't be more untrue. These are important people to me, and I will never. There's no, never say never. But I remember the people around me now, and that's not going to go away. There'll never be a person who's not any version of me that ever gets some kind of notoriety or gets to play a big concert or whatever. There'll never be a version of me that doesn't come have dinner with you and Adam and your niece and nephew or daughter or whoever it is. I look forward to the opportunity.
I love that about you.
To get back together when we're doing really, really big things. So
yeah.
Well, thank you for saying
How
that.
special.
I appreciate
You're
that.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay, before I tear up again about something pretty you say, tell the listeners where they can find you.
Okay.
Your socials, everywhere.
So it's Devin Hale Music, DevinHale Music, all one word, usually everywhere. That's Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, and I'll be honest, guys, I hadn't kept up with my Facebook page in a long time. But
I feel that.
I know, especially after getting all the requests and stuff after this concert, I'm going to get that stuff back together. But Instagram is my favorite. I love Instagram. But I'm Devin Hale Music on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. I've got plenty of YouTube. It's funny, if you want to see how far I've come in my career now from where I began, go to YouTube and you'll see videos of a 16 or 17-year-old chubby Devin Hale sitting on the couch when my mom bought me my first Martin guitar, and I was playing Miranda Lambert, The House That Built Me, and on the couch. You'll see that video on there. You'll see me get older. You'll see me gain weight, lose weight. There's a ton of videos on YouTube. Check that out. You can find me on iTunes. I've got a single out, Salty Scales, and Harlan, a song about Harlan County, Kentucky.
Yeah. That's a special
and we have
one.
recordings on there. By the time you hear this, all those things will be up and running and up and sounding and looking really good. So please go check me out, Devin Hale Music, absolutely everywhere. And if you want to Venmo me, I'm Hell Yeah 69. That's right, Hell Yeah 69. That's it. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I've been so excited for this. For any new listeners, make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening so you can follow along with all of the other adventures I get into with this podcast. Follow along. Instagram is also my favorite, at I've Been Thinking Pod. And we're on Facebook and TikTok and all that good stuff, and Twitter and all that good stuff too. I don't know how to tweet anymore. I used to be all into that when I was like in high school.
I have
like
a burner
sophomore in
account.
college. Stop. No, you don't.
Yes, years ago, I made my first Twitter account, and I was wilding out on there. I mean,
Lord.
I got wild, and I said, I was like, oh, Twitter's cool because you can say whatever you want to, and no one cares. And now I'm looking back at it, and I'm like, okay, time to make the Devin Hale Music Twitter account, and we just won't tell anybody about the burner account.
I relate to that. I actually do relate to that.
That's so funny, yeah.
Oh my
Good
gosh.
deal.
Yeah, well, again, thank you, Devin, so much. Oh, and I mentioned earlier in the episode, there might be a thing or two in this one I cut out a little bit, and I make that a Patreon exclusive. So
Cool.
If you guys don't already, make sure you check out patreon.com/I've Been Thinking Pod, and you'll be able to find tons of stuff there, and no matter what tier you decide to become a member at, you get extra episodes and early episodes every week. Sometimes even earlier. Sometimes I'm wilding out and I'll give you like 2 episodes at a time. Yeah. Well, thank you.
I'm going to head over there now and subscribe to you, right?
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.